Okay, as far as anime is concerned, and I've heard about these Doraemon and Shinchan, all these cartoons. Although they are pushing, they're giving a push to the Japanese culture, but on the very other hand,
Animation are the only way, but they can take us very far in internationalizing, pushing our culture and soft power to a greater extent, as we have seen in the case of Japan.
The importance of Banjara community at the time of Alauddin Khilji, when he made some market reforms or the economic reform. What was the role of specifically Banjara community in that particular reform?
Okay, what are the two weaknesses of yours, or you can say the areas where you can improve upon in future?
At the same time, when we look at South China Sea, which has been in the news for such a long time,
Yes, sir.
and we find that China unabashedly goes about bashing UNCLOS 82.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am.
Good evening, how are you?
Good evening, sir.
Sanket, please have a seat.
Thank you, sir.
Sanket, it's nice to have you here.
Thank you, sir.
And I understand this is your first attempt.
Yes, sir.
That means you're doing very well. First time you're making it to... That's wonderful.
Thank you, sir.
Sanket, I understand your interview is on the 5th of May.
Yes, sir.
So what have you done to prepare to make it that this first time only you succeed and make it to the merit?
Sir, I have tried to ponder over all the things that I've done until now related to my DAF and trying to explore myself throughout the
Sanket, you need
process.
to speak loudly. I can't hear. I'm an old man.
Okay, sir. Sir, I've been trying to explore myself, all the things that I've written in my DAF, and just trying to catch up all the things that I've done in the past few years, sir.
And how have you done it? There
Sir,
must be some method to it.
yes, sir. Sir, I've been very constantly engaging with some of my colleagues who have a similar DAF and similar experience with me, and I'm also doing under the guidance of the Commissioner of Police in our region, who is helping us, who is mentoring the people in my region basically. So I'm taking guidance from him, and I'm also constantly reviewing the current affairs section as well.
Okay, that's good. So you got a mentor. That's phenomenal. That's very good. I'm
Thank
sure
you,
that
sir.
he'll be putting you to the right track as to how to make it a success. So I understand you come from Hyderabad.
Yes, sir.
I've never been to Hyderabad. Why don't you tell me something about Hyderabad?
Okay, sir. So Hyderabad is an important city historically and today in modern times as well. Historically, it's been the seat of Nizams, and we've had some problems in acceding the particular territory to India. But after that, Hyderabad has made itself a good name, not only in the South Indian region, but also throughout India by being an IT and BT hub, which is information technology and biotechnology hub. And also many of the service sector industries such as Google, Amazon, and Apple are also coming to Hyderabad, sir. And one of the recent events that have happened in Hyderabad is that it has also been named as one of the three cities of India, and among the only 139 cities around the world, sir.
Okay, so why do we keep on hearing of Hyderabad, a tussle between Andhra Pradesh and Telangana?
Okay, sir. Sir, Hyderabad has been an capital of the erstwhile Andhra Pradesh state, and if we look at the development that has been happening in the erstwhile state, it had been mostly concentrated in the Hyderabad region, and that was a major source of revenue and also the center of legislature, executive, and judiciary for the erstwhile state. Now that the state has been bifurcated into two, the state of Andhra Pradesh feels that it has lost a major share of the revenue and also a big part of culture, that big part of a cultural connect that it has had with Hyderabad over the years, sir.
That's good. So I understand that you are a mechanical engineer.
Yes, sir.
If I ask you a question on mechanical engineering, will that be all right? Are you comfortable to handle it?
Sir, I will try to answer it, sir.
Let me ask you a very simple question. What's the difference between a diesel engine and a petrol engine?
Okay, sir. Sir, in a diesel engine, the ignition happens on its own without a spark plug. But in a petrol engine, it needs a spark. It needs to generate ignition based on an external source, that is a spark plug. And also, a petrol engine needs a carburetor to mix the fuel and the air before it needs to be ignited, which is not the case in diesel engine. And finally, diesel engines provide more torque and also power compared to the petrol engine, sir.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed interacting with you, Vaibhav.
Thank you, sir.
And you were, sorry, Sanket, and you were quite crisp with your answers. Over
Thank
to
you,
you,
sir.
Nitin.
So, thank you, sir. So, Ajmera Sanketh Kumar.
Yes, sir.
I can notice a special thing in this name. So, Ajmera is your first name,
It's my surname, sir. Sanket is my
Surname.
name.
Sanketh. So, two names, Sanketh and Ajmera. What is the meaning of these two?
Sir, Sanket means communication through gestures or signaling. And Ajmera, the name Ajmera has its roots in the city of Ajmer because we belong to a tribal community called Banjaras. And the history traces back to a region around Ajmer in Rajasthan, sir.
Good.
That's where the name is
So
coming from.
many political leader, I will say democratic leader too, are seeing the Ajmer Dargah, and many stories are also associated with it. What is the USP of this place? What is so special about this place?
Sir, I'm aware that Ajmer Dargah is the seat of the Sufi saint, that is the Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti, and he has been an important figure since the medieval times, and people come there to take his blessings from there, sir.
Okay, and here in Delhi also, near about Nizamuddin area,
Yes,
there
sir.
is something called as Phool Walon ki Sair.
Okay, sir.
Are you aware of
Sir,
this?
I've not heard of this, sir.
You have not heard of this.
I will look into this after I go back, sir.
Okay. Now you had mathematics as
Yes,
your optional.
Yes, sir.
You could have mechanical engineering too.
Yes, sir, I could have had, but doing the same thing over again, I would not have learned anything new. And math is something that I enjoy doing, sir, and wanted to learn something new, so I chose math, sir.
Okay. So what is the difference between math, stats, and GMA?
And sir,
GMA, general mental ability.
okay, sir. Sir, mathematics is a process of reasoning and coming up with decisions based on rationality and arguments. And on the other hand, statistics is a subset of mathematics which relies on collecting of data using sampling and making inferences from that. And finally, general mental ability again refers to the day-to-day reasoning that we do in everyday life, sir.
Okay. So for a civil servant,
Yes,
and
sir.
in this exam particularly,
Yes.
what is most relevant out of these three nowadays for a general candidate whose optional is not mathematics?
Okay, sir. Sir, I would say it would be the general mental ability, because an administrator has to deal with a lot of things on a day-to-day basis, such as resource allocation and optimization of resources that they have in a particular district or a particular block.
So in general mental ability, generally formulae are employed necessarily like mathematics or not?
So there can be formula, but also on the other hand, it gives the ability to
Just to solve the problem by...
yes, sir, it definitely gives the ability to solve, but also it gives the ability to have an intuition of the things that we are at. So, for example, the number of vaccines that we need in a particular village, or to estimate the kind of resources that we need to tackle a particular situation. I believe that can be understood by general mathematical abilities.
Right. So as a student of mathematics and rationality you have in you, so how many hours you give at the main stage in all the exams taken together? How many hours in the actual exam,
Yes, sir.
in the examination hall,
Yes,
maybe in UPSC or other center?
Yes, sir.
How many hours in total you sat in the examination hall at the main stage?
In the main stage, sir. Sir, I've written 9 examinations and each is 3 hours. So that is 27 hours.
Really?
I think so, sir.
Okay. And how many words you wrote in that?
Sir, I estimate that I can take an estimate, sir. I cannot calculate it correctly. But one paper includes, on one page, I write around 70 to 100 words. So I would take an average of 100 for easier calculations. So into 60 page, around 60 pages per examination.
Okay, what is the ideal speed of writing? Like how many words one is able to write in a minute time, so as to complete every answer within these or with the subject limit, words limit given by the UPSC.
Sir, I can estimate this by calculation, sir.
So you did not track it ever.
I did not track it, sir.
So it was like that only. Okay.
I tracked the time limit for each answer, not for a particular line or the speed, sir.
Okay, what are the two weaknesses of yours, or you can say the areas where you can improve upon in future?
Okay, sir. Sir, I believe that I procrastinate at times, and I also have sometimes an unhealthy lifestyle where I eat a lot of junk food. So these are two things that I need to be working upon, sir.
Okay, so good, Ajmera.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Welcome, Sanketh.
Yes, sir.
As you told in one of your answers that you come from a Banjara community.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you tell us the importance of Banjara community at the time of Alauddin Khilji when he made some market reforms or the economic reform? What was the role of specifically Banjara community in that particular reform?
Sir, I'm not exactly aware of the situation, but I would like to answer this based on my understanding, sir, if you'll allow me.
Okay.
Sir, Banjaras were important a community for trade purposes. They were trading in especially salt, then rice and also wheat, and then spices, sir. So they used to bring these commodities from across the border, and especially during the war times. So kings and sultans used to hire them to supply these materials, especially when waging wars, sir. So I believe they were important in that way, sir.
Yeah, right. You rightly answered.
Okay, sir.
Very good. Recently, one panchayat of India that became the first panchayat to become the carbon neutral.
Okay, sir.
Have you heard this news?
Yes, sir. This was a village in Kashmir. This is a village in Kashmir called Pali village.
Okay, right. My question is, what is carbon neutrality?
So
And what is the methodology to calculate?
Okay, sir. So carbon neutrality means the amount of carbon we are generating that also needs to be taken back. So that means the net generation would be zero.
Okay.
And the only the way that we would calculate this is to track our emissions and also the attempts that we are making to absorb that back from the atmosphere, sir.
Okay.
So we need necessary devices and methods to calculate these things, sir.
And what is India's target for net neutrality? Zero emission, net zero target?
Sir, we have recently committed to achieving net neutrality at Glasgow Summit by 2070, sir, as part of the Panchamrit commitment, sir.
So why India has extended its goal from 2050 to 2070?
Sir, India is still a developing country, sir, and as of now, we are not yet at a stage that we can reduce our emissions because we have still not yet peaked in our development, and there is a long way to go before we completely develop ourselves in infrastructure and also our industries. So before that is done, I believe that cutting our emissions would not be beneficial for us, sir.
But don't you think that by doing this, actually we are inviting the medical impoverishment? Because every third person in our country is somewhere affected with this air pollution borne diseases.
Yes, sir.
So I think as soon as we do this would be beneficial for everyone.
Yes, sir, there is definitely that cost to it. But at the same time, I believe that we are not ignoring the ill effects of the power plants that are consuming coal and other fossil fuels. We are also shifting our focus on more green energy generation, and the other 4 Panchamrit commitments of the Panchamrit are also trying to reduce this effect by absorbing the carbon and also generating energy from green sources. And there is also an attempt to increase the efficiency of the current thermal power plants to reduce the emissions as well, sir. So I believe that we are not ignoring that fact that you have pointed out, sir.
Okay. One news from Telangana which is coming in my mind, I read few days back, that Telangana government have banned a certain kind of chemical like glyphosate, glycophylate, इस तरीके के chemical they have banned,
Okay, sir.
particularly in the cotton field.
Okay, sir.
So, do you know aware about the reason why they banned?
Sir, I've not read it in the context of Telangana, but I would like to answer this based on my understanding, sir. Sir, glyphosate is a herbicide which is harmful causes ill effects on the people that inhale or live surroundings. So I believe that might be the reason why Telangana has banned it.
These are carcinogenic basically.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Nice. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi Sanket,
Hello,
how are
ma'am.
you?
I'm good, ma'am.
In your interest, you have written that you like watching anime.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please explain me what is the difference between animation and anime?
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, basically the only difference is that Japanese animations are referred to as anime in short, but there are more differences as to the quality of animations that we see. Firstly, the quality of audio visuals are great, I would say, in Japanese. And at the same time, I also watch it as an adult because of two other important reasons. One is because Japanese anime tend to showcase, unlike the other animations we see where there is a single protagonist who is focused upon, in Japanese animations, everybody gets a fair share, a role to play. And that has helped me over the teenage years to cope up with my anxieties as well, ma'am. And secondly, I would also say that Japanese animations are a very important part in internationalizing their culture in a very acceptable and very intimidating manner. And that these are the differences, I would say, ma'am.
Okay, there's no other difference between the two?
And another difference would be that the anime industry in Japan has a lot of allied industries that surrounding it, such as the merchandise, gaming, and a lot of toys and a lot of other things that
I think that
grow
goes
together.
with animation as well.
Yes, ma'am, but it does not happen with every animation per se, especially not in India, ma'am, as of now.
Okay. So this Shin-chan, Doraemon, all of these are anime or animation?
These are anime, ma'am.
Animes. Any of your favorite characters?
Ma'am, my favorite character would be Naruto, ma'am.
Okay. All right. As you said that Japanese, they have been, giving a push to their culture through anime.
Yes, ma'am.
In India also, we have various cartoons, animations itself.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think that just through cartoons or animations or anime, we can give a push to our culture, we can make it more visible to the world? And if so, then why we as Indians, why are we lacking behind?
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, I believe that it's not, I wouldn't say that animation are the only way, but they can take us very far in internationalizing, pushing our culture and soft power to a greater extent, as we have seen in the case of Japan. But at the same time, as we see the state of animation in industry in India, it is not yet up to the mark. And there are several reasons for this, ma'am. First of all, from a very young age, animations are seen as something that have a detrimental effect on the children. And that is where the anti-feelings towards the animation starts. And that has culminated into the fact where we do not support that industry in India. But we also have a good thing, ma'am, here, is that in the recent budget, there has been a push for audiovisual industry in India as well. So I believe we can take it from here and learn from the other animation industries.
Okay, as far as anime is concerned, and I've heard about these Doraemon and Shin-chan, all these cartoons. Although they are pushing, they're giving a push to the Japanese culture, but on the very other hand, there is a debate that they are having a very detrimental effect on the Indian culture, Indian
Yes,
society,
Yes,
Indian
ma'am.
children,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So, can you tell me what are the various steps that we need to take in regards to these animes that we are, exposing our children to?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I would say that this is happening because of mainly two reasons. One is that what might be acceptable in Japanese culture, we might not accept it. And I have seen that there are some issues of nudity that are being shown on our television, which might have a negative impact on children. And secondly, since these animations are dubbed, and in order to gain more audience, the dubbing industry in India is resorting to using what I would call a non, I mean, it's not a good language that we are using, and that also is impacting children. So, firstly, I think we should be regulating the industry which is translating these animations in India. And secondly, I would say that we need parental supervision, and also I will parents should be closely watching, monitoring what children are watching, maybe put it on loudspeaker or limit the time that people are watching. And from time to time, the channels that are giving this should be regulated so that they present they give a disclaimer as to what kind of content that they are offering, so that there is a clarity among the parents as well as to what children might be watching on this.
Okay.
On this, ma'am.
Picking from this, you have also listed your hobbies, one of your hobbies as teaching.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, in India, education sector is facing multiple challenges, especially in the time of pandemic. Suddenly, the whole of education sector has come online. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you think are the major drawbacks of online classes?
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, a child, when he is taking classes in the classroom, has several advantages compared to taking a class online. For example, he or she meets a lot of children from various backgrounds, and that builds perspective in that particular child, and it helps them learn better. And secondly, the child is also engaged in physical activities that might not be the case in online learning as well. And thirdly, the thing that is missing in an online education is the person-to-person connect, especially with between the teacher and the child. So I believe these are the things that online education will be missing on compared to the offline modes, ma'am.
Okay, no other challenges.
Ma'am, I also believe that this has also caused digital divide between the haves and children who are haves and have-nots as well, ma'am. And that is something that we need to look on as well.
Also has increased the screen time for children, that is having impact on their psychophysical health. Anyhow,
Okay, ma'am.
very
Thank you,
well
ma'am.
attempted.
Thank you,
Great.
ma'am.
Over to you, sir.
Yeah, we've been all talking of local things. I might well take you abroad and ask you what is the role of UN in the present scenario?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it
Yes, sir.
becoming defunct? Should we do away with it?
Yes, sir. UN is again a multinational body, and as of now, there have been several challenges that UN is facing, such as it was not successful in averting the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and several organs, such as the UN Security Council, are also being criticized for it. But at the same time, that I believe that it is the only intergovernmental body that unites the entire world, and its relevance is still there. But at the same time, we need to be taking reforms with every one of the 6 parts that it has, sir. So I believe that the relevance is still there, but we need to be making reforms as soon as possible,
Why
sir.
don't you tell me what's the relevance?
Okay, sir.
You're just giving me an opinion. Relevance is still there. Tell me what's the relevance.
Okay, sir. Sir, I believe it is the single body which unites all the countries today, which can talk about the challenges that we are facing globally, sir, and that would be the highest relevance in my opinion.
Okay, so at the same time, when we look at the South China Sea, which has been in the news for such a long time,
Yes, sir.
and we find that China unabashedly goes about bashing UNCLOS 82.
Okay, sir.
What is your take on it?
Sir, I have not heard of this news, sir. I will need to look into this.
China's accession on South China Sea, you're not aware?
I have very faint
United
understanding.
Nations Conventions Law of Sea 1982, which tells what is your territorial water, what is your
Sir,
international waters, EEZ.
yes, sir. Sir, I have read that China is constructing artificial islands in the South China Sea and claiming the territory in that region, and that falls in the exclusive economic zone of other Southeast Asian nations in that area, sir. That's what I've read, sir. But I will need to look into
Okay.
this, sir.
Sanket, we enjoyed interacting with you. You were quite candid and you really responded very well.
Thank you, sir.
I'll request you to withdraw for a couple of minutes before we call you again.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Please sit down, Sanket.
Thank you, sir.
So, Sanket, this is your first interview
Yes, sir.
and the first mock interview too, or you had some interviews
Yes, I
before?
have had few interviews before.
You had 2 or 3 interviews before.
Yes.
2 or 3?
Sir, 3.
3. So, how was your experience then and now? Do you feel that this interaction was beneficial for you?
Sir, it was beneficial because a lot of questions, especially the one that ma'am asked, were from my DAF. So I believe that it was relevant to my experiences.
Speak loudly. I hear.
Sir, I felt that it was beneficial because questions that were asked from relevant because they were asked from my DAF, sir.
Okay. And in the previous interviews, they were not asking from the DAF?
Sir, 2 out of 3 were not from my DAF, sir.
Okay. So basically, you have got a common denominator where whatever they interact, they'll be, by and large, will be working on your DAF. And especially when you come from a city like Hyderabad, which has got huge history, and it has got huge political relevance now because of its. Probably, I would very strongly. First of all, let me tell you, you're a strong candidate. You are good. You are quite candid.
Thank you, sir.
And you are quite self-assured, which we quite liked in
Thank
you.
you, sir.
And we are reasonably sure that you'll do very well. But having said so, it'll be pertinent to understand there are certain things that you can do to become from good to best.
Sure, sir.
One is that we realized that your eye contact was by and large focused toward individual with whom you were interacting.
Yes, sir.
So I would very strongly recommend that maybe one in a minute, just involve all the panelists.
Okay.
Others have not come here to sleep.
Sure, sir.
They also want to be part of your journey.
Sure, sir.
So that is what one is very important aspect. I talked of Hyderabad. It gives you a golden opportunity to actually strike gold. And if you could have handled that thing very well, talking of what I asked you in the second time, double capital, maybe if you can bring out a whole lot of turmoil which happens, what is happening, a strong student will be able to talk for about 2 to 3 minutes only on Hyderabad, bringing out various aspects of Hyderabad, the geographic aspects, the civics aspects, the economic aspects, the commercial aspects, historical, political. But that is where a strong student comes out because he sees the city in a holistic manner. And I feel that you have this capability to deliver. You definitely have this capability. You're a strong candidate. Diesel, petrol, very simple question. But in my opinion, you really mucked it up. Because if I go to a petrol pump and I ask this Pappu who's standing over there, वो बताएगा कि सर डीजल इंजन भारी है, ज़्यादा मेंटेनेंस है, सर उसमें कंप्रेशन इंजन है, उसमें स्पार्क प्लग नहीं है, उसमें कार्बोरेटर है, सर इसमें कार्बोरेटर नहीं, वो सारी कहानी बताएगा. वो मुझे शायद ये भी बताएगा कि सर diesel engine is compression is 16 to 18 times, whereas the petrol engine is about 6 to 8 times. He'll give me all the story, but he'll never be able to explain me why is diesel engine required and why is petrol engine required. As a B.Tech, we are not mechanics. That is for the polytechnic, people who use their hands. But when we do B.Tech, we understand the reason for why these engines are created.
Sure, sir.
That is what construction is a secondary issue. Fundamentals lead to understand. पहले steam engine भी था.
Yes, sir.
अभी nuclear engine भी बनने वाले हैं.
Yes,
So look at whole lot of these. Try to understand, and this is where a strong candidate comes out. What answer you gave was right, but it was low level.
Okay.
That's where you can strike gold.
Understood, sir.
We did not ask much about current affairs today.
Yes, sir.
But be assured that by the time you go there on 5th of May, lot of water will move under the bridge, and they'll be working on your current affairs also.
Okay, sir.
Things on your hobbies, I think you handled it very well. There was a lot of maturity which you showed at many places. But role of UN, generic again. I feel UN has relevance. Who are you? But when you tell me why is it relevant, then I start understanding. When you can connect up vaccination, when you connect up COP, there's so much the world UN is doing. I definitely agree that it has not been able to stem the wars which has taken place, whether we talk of Iraq, whether we talk of present crisis that we have in Russia and Ukraine. But there are many good things which are happening. So strong people take the umbrage of looking at positives. Use this positive to swing it and make yourself relevant.
Sure, sir.
So that is one very important thing. And do remember South China Sea, because South China Sea gets connected with Quad in a very big manner, very, very big manner. The Quad is coming because of the South China Sea. Indo-Pacific shift that we are talking, the three big economies that we are going to have in the world, China, India and US, you'll see that the whole game is going to change. And people like you will be perhaps be the people who will be mentoring it, because maybe for 15-20 years, आप जैसे लोग चला रहे होंगे इस भारत को. By and large, pretty good. We enjoyed interacting with you, and we are quite sure that you will do extremely well.
Thank you, sir.
Maintain this poise. I'm sure ये दाढ़ी वाड़ी बना लोगे जब जाना होगा.
Yes, sir.
Good eye contact.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else you would like to know?
Sir, I think this is.
Nitin, if you would like to give him something else.
You did not opt for IFS and you first, please.
Yes, sir.
Any particular reason?
Sir, I just
Personal preference?
more than that, I would say I would like to like go close to the developmental activities.
So that they may grill you and they will grill you for this. You are the only offspring of your family?
Yes, sir.
Only one?
Yes, sir.
So please say this to, means it is in this decision or in this preference, this is also a factor that I am the only son. Please say this, right? And apart from this, yes, sir, it is good that if I am working here, but if I am getting foreign service also in that preference,
Yes,
but you will not be getting
yes, sir.
it, because that way the list is going to the foreign ministry after the. So this is something, and then Ajmera, there may be question from that word itself, Ajmera. Okay, and the flow was good. You were able to express yourself. Your temperament and kind of frame is really good for a would-be, like a would-be bureaucrat should sound like. Defensive like this, your posturing were like this, so it is defensive. So keep your hand palm on your thighs.
Sure, sir.
Okay, it will be good. And eye blinking were little sometimes more. Okay, so if it is natural, then it is fine. It can be little less, definitely. But don't put more artificiality into your performance now out of the feedback that you will be getting. Keep yourself natural the way you are. The originality has no parallel, right? Be you, whatever you are, and yes, these all things, and the answers that you were giving were having the core things in it. I can say, but the technical perspective and simple perspective, both the things, you can have the situational appeal of the particular member or the chair, that what actually they want. That is also a psychological perspective of a smart candidate. They understand, and blend of both the things in the answer is really a good cocktail.
Sure, sir. Understood, sir.
Right. So sir asked CI about SI. CI is always found in when the transportation and big vehicle in LMV and all you will find, and SI is found in the sedan, comfort, family car is where pickup is more required.
Yes,
Right. So this is also one thing, but yes, technically that was fine. But we find that you are going to be there. Okay.
thank you, sir.
But be natural.
Sure, sir.
Any other thing?
I'll just close up with one last thing. Your hobby is journaling of self-reflection.
Yes, sir.
Be aware that they will ask you about your strengths and weaknesses. The weakness of procrastination and affinity for junk food are bad habits. They are not weaknesses. Please understand.
This is
So please evolve yourself. People who journal, they have great insight into themselves. So either you don't write it, now that you've committed yourself, be aware of your weaknesses. And junk food is not a weakness. Please do understand. It tells,
he tried to basically handle it that way smartly.
so be aware of it better. There are smarter things to do. Look at it. So when anyone who writes this kind of a thing, he is actually a good interviewing officer, will gravitate towards it. Well, these are unique things and they would definitely like to explore. People who journal, they are fully aware of themselves.
One of the weaknesses, sir, I can find that you can say in hobby of your interest, there is no outdoor activity that has been, means like jogging, sports, any badminton and all, you have not put that way. So you can,
Hockey.
hockey is there, okay, we are not able. So
Think about
so
it.
there can be many, but yes, you can handle it in a better manner.
Look at your strengths. What are your strengths? Work on the strengths, and that is how the smart people flip the thing. We enjoyed interacting with you. All the best, my child. God bless you. Yeah, please. Sorry.
Sanket, you really need to get into animation and anime difference, because what you said was not exactly, it was a difference, but still you need to get into the technical part since you have written it in your interest, right? Anime and animation. Secondly, when you were coming inside, don't be so nervous that you make evening morning, right? So be very conscious of these things.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think that was it. So.
Ma'am, the length of the answers that I've said, was it appropriate? I feel like it was too long.
It was a little. No. But this is not something, but since you knew about it, you were telling. It was not an issue.
It was by and large in proportion. That was not the observation. That is not the, and I think everything is fine. Only you need to just
very
prime
well
up.
with anime and animation. I mean, it was a good thing that but still you need to get into the technical since you have written it in your interest. Right?
Yeah, that can be a good question and will be, I think.
Yeah, since it was written, because this is the first app I've seen
Yeah,
ever
anime.
who has mentioned watching anime. So this is very peculiar.
All the very best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.